This podcast is brought to you by Renewal by Andersen of Central Pennsylvania. It's the spooky season, but updating your home with new windows and doors doesn't have to be scary. Right now at Renewal by Andersen of Central Pennsylvania, you can get one window or door and get another window or door at 40% off, and an additional $200 off your project to boot. Call 717-727-7558 or drop by rbacentralpa.com/deals to get on this one now. A school board is considering anti-racist math. Meanwhile, the state's tax credits are a mixed bag as far as job creation goes. Colleges are trying to figure out what to do with all these unused dorms. Plus, the number one Halloween costume for people and dogs. I'm Claudia Dimuro, and you're listening to Today in a PA. The Pittsburgh Public Schools Board of Education is considering hiring a consultant to work with school staff on dismantling racism that they believe is embedded in the teaching of math, reports the Center Square. The board agenda for its next meeting lists Quetzal Education Consulting for the job, which offers a quote-unquote anti-racist workshop that, quote, will equip you to identify, disrupt, and replace white supremacy culture practices in math instruction with practices that center the wellness of students of color. According to some experts, students are grouped by a lot of schools according to their, quote, perceived ability, IQ, or achievement levels, unquote, like placing some kids in basic math and others in honors. This, says the National Council of Supervisors in Mathematics, encourages, quote, segregation, dead-end pathways, and low-quality experiences, and disproportionately has a negative impact on minority and low socioeconomic students. Quetzal would get $50,000 should the Pittsburgh board approve this workshop during the Wednesday meeting. 5 years of research has led the State Independent Fiscal Office to see one overarching thing about Pennsylvania's tax credit programs, reports Spotlight PA. They are, in the words of Director Matthew Niddle, quote-unquote, a mixed bag as far as job creation goes. The IFO found that only 7 programs out of the 20 accomplished what they were meant to do, whereas 4 weren't up to standard. Another 4 lacked sufficient data, and 5 were formed recently, so there isn't enough data there for assessment just yet. But while there are those who question their efficiency, and while the state continues to pour millions of dollars into tax credits, Niddle explains it's really hard to assess how truly effective these programs are. For example, if a company that received tax credits opens up a new facility in the state, was that because of the credits, or were they awarded to the company for something it would have done anyway? There is some scrutiny being applied to the tax credits, like that overhaul of the state's approach to economic development recently announced by Governor Shapiro. There are 1 million fewer college students nationwide today than there were prior to the COVID pandemic, states the Tribune Review. And with that drop in student numbers comes a rather unique problem for universities, including those in Pennsylvania like Penn West. Unused student housing. Penn West revealed that enrollment's down by 20.5% for first-year students, leaving nearly 40% of its beds empty. And some experts think this unused student housing dilemma is going to get worse too, especially since birth rates dropped during the Great Recession of 2008, meaning enrollment may not look all too great next year either. Some campuses are trying to alleviate the financial burden of this issue and get rid of wasted space by converting the student housing into other things, like senior living developments. Halloween's right around the corner, says PennLive. And just in time for the holiday, a study by onlinecasinos.ca has found the number one costume Pennsylvanians are planning on dressing up as: a video game character. But the findings didn't stop there. The study also found what people want to dress their dogs up as too. Bats, apparently. Other popular costumes for humans were witches, pirates, and ghosts. And for dogs, it was hot dogs, and pumpkins. That's all for today. For even more news, head on over to PennLive.com. And please also remember to rate this podcast and to leave it an honest review if you'd like. Thanks ahead of time, and as always, thanks for listening. I'm Claudia Dimuro, and I'll be back again tomorrow for another round of Today in a PA. This podcast is brought to you by Renewal by Andersen of Central Pennsylvania. It's the spooky season, but updating your home with new windows and doors doesn't have to be scary. Right now at Renewal by Andersen of Central Pennsylvania, you can get one window or door and get another window or door at 40% off and an additional $200 off your project to boot. Call 717-727-7558 or drop by rbacentralpa.com/deals to get on this one now.